Get out, or I'll kill you myself." The Waterford crystal exploded against the wall, champagne and glass raining down like his mother's last tears. Nick Hartley, 28, heir to a criminal empire worth $200 million, stood skeletal in a $12,000 suit that hung off him like a burial shroud, his hands shaking so violently he could barely grip the medical shake bottle. 23 days since he'd eaten real food. 23 days since they poisoned his mother at her own dinner table. 23 days of watching himself die in the mirror while his father, Antonio Hartley, the man who'd built this empire from blood and concrete, stood outside the penthouse door and begged his only son to eat. But Nick knew the truth. Every bite was a bullet. Every meal was murder. Before we show you how one simple bowl of soup destroys everything Nick believes and changes the fate of two crime families, forever smash that subscribe button right now. Stay until the very end. This twist will leave you speechless. And comment what city you are watching from, so I can see how far this unbelievable story travels. The first thing you need to understand about Nick Hartley is that he wasn't always paranoid. 2 months ago, he'd walked into boardrooms and made men twice his age sweat. He'd negotiated deals worth millions with a smile that could cut glass. He'd been groomed since birth to take over the Hartley empire, the restaurants, the real estate, the shipping companies, and the darker things that happened in the shadows between. His mother had made sure of that. "Nicky, you have to learn to see the knife before it's in your back," she'd told him once over breakfast at Giovanni's, their flagship restaurant. "In this world, trust is a luxury we can't afford." Maria Hartley, even dead, her voice lived in his head. Now standing in the penthouse bathroom at 3 a.m., Nick stared at his reflection and barely recognized the ghost staring back. Cheekbones sharp enough to cut, eyes sunken into dark hollows, ribs visible through his skin like prison bars. The scale said 142 pounds. He'd been 189 a month ago. His phone buzzed. "Dad?" Again, he let it ring. Instead, Nick opened another bottle of Ensure Vanilla, his fourth of the day, and checked the seal with the kind of obsessive precision that would have embarrassed him 2 months ago. Examined the cap for tampering, held it to the light for sediment, smelled it. Only then did he drink, and even then his throat tried to reject it. The penthouse stretched around him like a tomb. 16 rooms, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, art worth more than most people's houses. And Nick alone in it, slowly starving to death. A knock, soft, persistent. "Nicky," his father's voice through the bedroom door. "Please, just talk to me." Nick said nothing. "The doctor called. He says you're an organ failure. Your kidneys, Nicky. Your liver. If you don't eat, then I die." Nick's voice was sandpaper. "Like Mom." Silence, then, "Your mother wasn't murdered." Nick laughed. The sound echoed off marble, sharp and broken. "You know what I remember, Dad? I remember her face when she took that last sip of wine. The way her eyes went wide. The way she looked at the glass like she suddenly understood something. And you know what else I remember?" He opened the bedroom door. Antonio stood there in silk pajamas and a cashmere robe, looking every one of his 62 years. His face was gray, exhausted, dying alongside his son in a different way. "I remember," Nick continued, his voice deadly quiet, "that I drank from the same bottle, ate from the same plates, and I lived. So either God loves me more than he loved Mom, or someone made very sure to poison only her glass." Antonio's hand trembled as he reached for his son. Nick stepped back. "Don't. Nicky." "How much did the autopsy cost?" Nick asked. "To make it say natural causes, 50,000, 100. What's the going rate for covering up murder in this family?" Antonio's face hardened. That look, the one that made district attorneys nervous and competitors disappear, flickered across his features. "You want to know the truth? Fine. I'll tell you the truth." He pushed past Nick into the bedroom, pulled out his phone, and made a call. "Marcus, I need you to send me the file. The real one. Yes. Now." 2 minutes later, Antonio's phone pinged. He turned the screen toward Nick. The autopsy photos were clinical. Cold. Maria Hartley's body on a steel table, Y incisions stark across her chest. But it was the toxicology report that made Nick's breath catch. "Digoxin," Antonio said flatly. "Heart medication. Untraceable unless you're looking for it specifically. Causes cardiac arrest that looks completely natural." He swiped to another page. "The coroner we paid, he found it. found the exact levels that would kill someone Maria's size, found the timing administered approximately 90 minutes before death, which means dinner service. Nick's voice was barely a whisper. Someone poisoned her during the meal. I've had everyone at that table investigated. Everyone who touched her food, her drinks, her plate. 6 weeks of investigation, Nikki. And you know what I found? What? Nothing. Whoever did this, they're a ghost. Professional, careful, and still out there. Nick sat heavily on the bed. The room tilted slightly, malnutrition playing tricks with his equilibrium. So you do believe she was murdered? I've always believed it. Antonio sat beside him. I just didn't want you to become this haunted thing, starving yourself because you're afraid of the same thing happening to you. It will happen to me if I'm not careful. No, Antonio's voice turned sharp. It'll happen if you die from starvation first, because that's exactly what they want, Nikki. They don't have to poison you. You're doing their job for them. The words hit like a slap. Who? Nick grabbed his father's arm. Who are they? You said you investigated. I have my suspicions. Marco West. Antonio's silence was confirmation. It's him, isn't it? Nick stood pacing despite the dizziness. Mom was investigating his operations. She found something and she was going to the FBI. She was thinking about it. Antonio stood too. She came to me 3 days before she died. Said she'd discovered West was using our shipping routes, mixing his cargo with ours. Drugs, guns. He was making us complicit without our knowledge. And you didn't kill him, because I had no proof. Antonio's shout filled the room. Maria said she had documentation, but she never told me where. Said she was protecting me, protecting you. Said if something happened to her, the proof would surface automatically. But it didn't. No, it didn't, which means either she was bluffing or Wes found it first. Nick's mind raced through possibilities, probabilities, lethal scenarios. The dinner. Who was there? Antonio pulled up another file on his phone. 23 people, family, business associates. The Castellanos, they're clean. I've known them 40 years. The Benedettis, same. The Russos brought their daughter. She's 12. Wait, Nick stopped pacing. West wasn't there. Of course not. We don't break bread with enemies. But someone at that table was working for him. Nick's voice turned cold, analytical. This was the Nick who'd negotiated hostile takeovers, who'd seen through lies like glass. Someone we trusted, someone Mom trusted enough to eat with. I've investigated everyone. Then investigate harder. Nick grabbed the phone, scrolling through names. His eyes stopped on one. Here, Vincent Romano, business consultant. Who the hell is that? Antonio's face paled. He was recommended by the Benedettis. We'd only worked with him 2 months before the dinner. And where is he now? I don't know. He disappeared 3 days after Maria died. Vanished. No trace. Jesus Christ, Dad. Nick wanted to throw the phone, wanted to scream. That's not suspicious at all. We've been looking for him. Not hard enough. Nick's voice cracked. He could feel his strength failing, his body giving up. The room swam. If Wes wanted Mom dead, he wanted me dead too. Or worse, wanted me exactly like this. Broken, starving. Taking myself out while you watch helplessly and your empire crumbles because your heir is insane. He collapsed. Antonio caught him, lowered him to the bed with surprising gentleness for a man who'd once broken someone's jaw in a union negotiation. You're not insane, Nicky. You're traumatized. There's a difference. I can't eat, Dad. Nick's eyes burned. I can't. Every time I look at food, I see Mom's face. I see that wine glass. I see death. Antonio was quiet for a long moment. Then, what if I told you there was somewhere safe? Nowhere is safe. Giovanni's, the restaurant, my kitchen, with me watching, with chefs I've known 20 years, with ingredients I select personally, with you watching every step of preparation. Antonio's voice was gentle but firm. Would you try one meal, one bowl of soup, something simple? Dad, please, Nicky, please, let me feed my son before I lose him the same way I lost his mother. And there it was, the thing neither of them had said. Antonio wasn't just losing a son, he was losing the last piece of Maria, the last thing she'd created. Nick closed his eyes, felt his pulse weak and thready in his throat, knew his father was right. Another week of this, and his organs would start failing irreversibly. Okay, he whispered. One meal, but I choose everything. I watch everything. Deal. They dressed in silence, Nick in clothes that hung like drapes, Antonio making quiet calls to prepare the restaurant. At 4 a.m., the city was different, darker, the streets emptier, more dangerous. The Mercedes waited downstairs. Paulo and Dimitri, bodyguards who'd been with the family since Nick was in high school, stood at attention. We going somewhere, boss? Paulo's Brooklyn accent was thick even at this hour. Giovanni's, Antonio said, and nobody follows us. Understand, no tail, no backup vehicles, just us. Paulo and Dimitri exchanged glances but didn't argue. You didn't argue with Antonio Hartley when he used that tone. The drive took 17 minutes. Nick counted every one, watched every car that came within 50 feet, calculated escape routes, threat vectors, kill zones. His mother had taught him that too. You're thinking like her, Antonio said softly, watching his son's eyes track a taxi. Maria always saw threats. Because threats were always there. Yes, but she also knew how to live despite them. She ate, she laughed, she got poisoned and died. The car went silent. Giovanni stood dark against the pre-dawn sky. Red brick, green awning, the windows that had glowed warm for 90 years now black and empty. Antonio's key turned in the lock. The alarm system recognized his code. They stepped into darkness that smelled of garlic and wine and old wood. Lights, Antonio commanded. The kitchen blazed to life. Stainless steel gleamed. Copper pots hung like soldiers at attention. This was where the Hartley Empire had started, where Antonio's father had cooked for mobsters and politicians alike, where Maria had learned to read people over espresso and tiramisu. Pick your station, Antonio said. Nick chose station 3, center of the kitchen, best sightlines to all entrances. He watched as his father moved through the walk-in refrigerator, selecting ingredients with the practiced eye of someone who'd been doing this for 40 years. Chicken stock, house-made this morning. Vegetables from our regular supplier. I called him personally, told him I needed the delivery at midnight, watched him unload myself. Herbs from the rooftop garden. Dried pasta from the same maker we've used since I opened this place. Antonio laid everything on the counter. Nick inspected each item, looked for tampering, signs of interference, found nothing but food. How do you want it? Antonio asked. Simple, broth, vegetables, that's it. Antonio began to cook and Nick watched, really watched. His father's hands moving with muscle memory, older than Nick's life. Knife cutting onions with precise, even strokes. Stock poured into the pot with the confidence of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. Your mother loved chicken soup, Antonio said quietly, not looking up. When she was pregnant with you, it was the only thing she could keep down. I must have made her 200 batches that summer. I didn't know that. There's a lot you don't know. Antonio added celery carrots. Your mother and I, we weren't always this dark. We started with nothing, just a dream in a tiny restaurant in Queens. She worked the floor, I worked the kitchen. We were happy. What changed? Money, power, the things that come with success in our world, Antonio's voice was tinged with regret. We had to make choices, align with certain families, take certain deals, and each choice took us further from who we'd been. Do you regret it? Antonio stopped stirring, looked at his son directly. I regret that it killed her. I regret that it's killing you, but the empire, the power, no. Because it also gave us you, gave us security, gave us the ability to protect the people we love, even if we ultimately failed. The soup simmered, the scent filled the kitchen, simple, clean, honest. It's ready, Antonio said. He ladled a bowl, white ceramic, no decoration, just soup steaming in the fluorescent kitchen light. Nick stared at it like it might explode. I'll taste it first, Antonio offered. No. Nick's hands shook as he picked up the spoon. If it's poisoned, I don't want to watch you die too. Nicky, just let me. The spoon lifted. Golden broth, pieces of carrot, threads of fresh basil. Nick brought it to his lips. The first taste was shock. Real food. After 23 days of bland medical shakes, the explosion of flavored chicken garlic herbs was almost violent. His taste buds, dormant for so long, screamed to life. He took another spoonful. Another. His stomach shrunken and abused clenched at the intrusion. But underneath the discomfort was something else. Recognition. Welcome. Like his body was crying, thank you finally, thank you. The bowl emptied. Nick looked up to find his father crying silently, tears streaming down his weathered face. More, Nick whispered. Antonio laughed a broken, relieved sound and ladled another bowl. They sat there, father and son, in the quiet kitchen as dawn began to creep through the windows. Nick ate 3 bowls. His stomach protested the third, but he pushed through, desperate to prove to himself that he could do this. That food wasn't death. How do you feel? Antonio asked. Sick, but good sick. Like my body remembers how to do this. We'll take it slow. Soup for a few days, then soft foods. We'll build you back. The kitchen door crashed open. Both Hartleys spun. Paulo burst in, gun drawn, face white. Boss, we got a problem. What? Someone's been in the restaurant, after hours. Security footage shows a figure in the kitchen last night around 2 a.m. They didn't take anything, didn't break anything. But they were here. Nick's blood turned to ice. The soup, the ingredients. Someone tampered. No, Paulo said quickly. The footage shows them in the back office, not the kitchen. They were looking at employee files. Antonio stood slowly. Which files? New hires from the last month. Specifically, Paulo checked his phone. A waitress, Sophia Turner, started last week. The intruder took her entire personnel file. Application, emergency contacts, everything. Where is she now? Antonio's voice was deadly calm. That's the thing, boss. She called 10 minutes ago, left a message on the restaurant line, said she needs to talk to you, said it's urgent, said, Paulo swallowed, said it's about Mrs. Hartley's death. The kitchen went silent. Nick found his voice first. Get her, now, bring her here. She said she'll only come if she gets a guarantee of safety. She'll get it. Antonio was already moving, pulling out his phone. Paulo, send a car. Dimitri rides with. Tell her she's under Hartley protection as of this moment. Anyone touches her, they die. Paulo nodded and left. Nick stood on shaking legs. Dad, what if this is a trap? What if Wes sent her? Then we'll know soon enough. Antonio's eyes were hard, ancient. The eyes of a man who'd survived 40 years in a world where trust was currency and betrayal was common as air. But something tells me this girl is the key to everything. Why? Because someone's scared enough of her to break into my restaurant and steal her files, which means she knows something. And in our world, Nicky knowledge is more dangerous than any poison. They waited. Nick paced the kitchen, his stomach churning from the soup or from fear he couldn't tell. Antonio made calls, quiet conversations in Italian that Nick couldn't fully follow, but understood the gist, circling the wagons, calling in favors, preparing for war. 23 minutes. That's how long it took. The back door opened. Dimitri entered first, his massive frame filling the doorway. Behind him, a woman, early 20s. Dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, jeans and a worn jacket. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked like a college student or a struggling artist, or any of 1,000 unremarkable young women you'd pass on the street without a second glance. Except for her eyes. Sharp, intelligent, terrified. Sophia Turner. Antonio's voice was carefully neutral. Yes, her voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. Thank you for the protection. I didn't know where else to go. Sit. Antonio gestured to a stool. Talk. Sophia sat but perched on the edge, ready to run. Her eyes flicked between Antonio and Nick, clearly assessing threat levels. You said this is about my wife's death, Antonio continued. Explain. Sophia took a breath. My name isn't really Sophia Turner. It's Sophia Castellano. Nick's breath caught. Castellano as in the family that was at your mother's last dinner? Yes. Sophia's hands twisted together. My uncle is Robert Castellano. He brought me to that meal. Introduced me as his niece visiting from California. I remember you, Antonio said slowly. You were quiet, barely spoke. I was terrified. Sophia's voice cracked, because I knew what was going to happen. The kitchen went dead silent. You knew. Nick's voice was a whip. You knew someone was going to poison my mother and you said nothing. I didn't know it would be poison. Sophia flinched back. I just knew, my uncle was planning something. I overheard him on the phone 2 days before. He was talking to someone about a delivery during the dinner, about handling the problem. I thought it was business. I didn't think, her voice broke. I didn't know he meant murder. Antonio's face had gone pale. Robert Castellano, I've known him 40 years. He's been at my table 100 times. He was at my wedding. He's also been on Marco West's payroll for the last 2 years. Sophia pulled a folded piece of paper from her jacket. I found this in his study 3 weeks ago. Bank transfers, $2 million over 18 months. All from shell companies that trace back to West's operations. She handed the paper to Antonio. Nick watched his father's hands shake as he read. This could be faked, Antonio said, but his voice lacked conviction. It's not. I verified the account numbers, the routing codes, everything. Sophia met his eyes. Your wife was getting too close to exposing West's operations. He needed her gone. My uncle owed him money, gambling debts. West offered to clear them if Uncle Robert helped with the problem. How do you know this? Nick demanded. Because 3 days after Mrs. Hartley died, I confronted my uncle. Told him I'd overheard enough to know what he'd done. Sophia's voice shook. He tried to kill me. Said I was a loose end. Said West wanted everyone who knew about the plan eliminated. But you escaped. Barely. I've been running ever since. Changed my name. Moved 6 times. Got this job at Giovanni's because I thought, I don't know. I thought if I could get close to your family, I could warn you. Tell you the truth. Maybe stop West before he killed anyone else. Why didn't you go to the police? Antonio asked. Sophia laughed bitterly. With what proof? A conversation I overheard bank transfers that could be explained away. My uncle has connections in the NYPD. West owns half the district attorneys in this city. I'd be dead before I finished giving my statement. Nick studied her, looking for tells, signs of deception, but all he saw was exhaustion, fear, the kind of bone-deep terror that came from running for your life. Show me your arm, he said suddenly. What, your left arm? Show me. Sophia hesitated, then slowly rolled up her sleeve. The scar was ugly, recent, a long, jagged line from wrist to elbow. My uncle's bodyguard, she said quietly. When I ran, he almost caught me. Whatever, except... She pulled her sleeve back down. Except a stranger helped me, got me to a hospital, gave me money for a bus ticket, told me to run and keep running. Who was this stranger? I don't know, never saw his face clearly. But he knew my name, knew my uncle was looking for me, said someone had sent him to protect me, but he didn't say who. Antonio and Nick exchanged glances. This is a lot to process, Antonio said carefully. You understand, we need to verify. I know, I'm asking you to verify. To investigate my uncle. Look into the bank transfers. Check West's phone records from that week. I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. I'm asking you to look. And if we find you're lying, then I'll accept whatever punishment you think appropriate. Sophia's voice was steady. But I'm not lying, Mr. Hartley. Your wife was murdered. My uncle helped do it, and Marco West ordered it. Those are the facts. Nick felt something shift in his chest. Maybe it was the soup finally settling. Maybe it was hope, dangerous, fragile hope that they finally had a lead. Or maybe it was the way Sophia looked at him, not with pity for his skeletal frame, but with understanding. Like she knew what it meant to be hunted, to be terrified of everything. Stay here tonight, Antonio said finally. In the apartment above the restaurant. It's secure. We'll verify your story. If it checks out, Nick finished, we go to war. Sophia nodded. That's all I'm asking. Dmitri escorted her upstairs. When they were alone, Antonio turned to his son. What do you think? Nick thought about the scar, the fear in her eyes, the way her hands had shaken when she handed over the bank records. I think she's telling the truth. I think Robert Castellano murdered Mom. And I think we've been eating dinner with a traitor for 40 years. Antonio's face hardened into something ancient and terrible. Then we verify, and if it's true, we make them pay, all of them. Wes first. No, Antonio's voice was ice. Robert first, because betrayal is worse than ambition. West's a rival that's expected. But Robert, he shook his head. Robert sat at our table, ate our food, smiled at my wife while planning her death. That kind of betrayal, that demands special attention. Nick felt his own rage building, not the paranoid, scattered fear that had kept him starving, but focused, cold, the kind of anger that could be weaponized. How long to verify Sophia's claims? If I push my contacts 48 hours, maybe less. Do it. And Dad, yeah, I want to be there when we confront him. Robert, I want to see his face when he realizes he failed, that I didn't die, that we know everything. Antonio studied his son, the skeletal frame, the burning eyes, the rage that was replacing fear. Okay, Nicky, you've earned that right. They stood together in the kitchen where it all began, where Antonio had built an empire, where Nick had learned to survive on soup instead of trust. Outside, dawn was breaking. The city was waking up. And somewhere in that city, Marco West and Robert Castellano had no idea that their world was about to end, because Nick Hartley had finally eaten. And he was hungry for more than soup. He was hungry for revenge. The verification started at 6 a.m. with a phone call that made Antonio's face go white. Say that again. His voice was barely controlled fury. He was standing in the kitchen office, Nick sitting across from him, still weak but alert. You're absolutely certain, no mistakes. Nick watched his father's knuckles turn white around the phone. Send me everything. Photos, documents. I want it all in the next hour. Antonio hung up and looked at his son with eyes that held murder. Robert Castellano's bank accounts. The transfers Sophia mentioned, they're real. Every single one. 2.3 million over 18 months, all from shell companies that lead back to West. Nick felt something cold settle in his chest. So she was telling the truth. About the money, yes, but that's just the start. Antonio pulled up his laptop, fingers flying across keys. I've got 6 different investigators running parallel checks. Bank records, phone logs, security footage from that night. If Robert helped kill your mother, I'll have proof by sunset. And then what? Antonio's smile was terrible. Then we make him confess, on camera, in detail, and we send the recording to every family in the 5 boroughs so they know what happens to traitors. Nick stood still and steady, but driven by something stronger than weakness. I want to talk to Sophia again. Why? Because if she's been running from Robert for 3 weeks, she knows things, details we need. And because, Nick hesitated, because she understands what it's like to be hunted by your own family. Antonio studied his son for a long moment. Don't trust her too much, Nicky. People lie when they're desperate. She showed us her scar, gave us bank records. What else does she have to do? Survive the next 48 hours without betraying us. Antonio's voice was flat. That's the real test. Nick climbed the stairs to the apartment above Giovanni's. His legs trembled with effort. 3 bowls of soup couldn't undo 3 weeks of starvation, but he pushed through. At the door, Dimitri stood guard. She awake? Nick asked. Hasn't slept. Been pacing for 2 hours. Dimitri's Russian accent was thick with disapproval. She asks many questions about security, about exits, like she's planning escape, or like she's terrified. Nick knocked. Sophia. It's Nick Hartley. Silence. Then footsteps. The door opened a crack. Sophia looked worse than she had last night. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair disheveled. She'd changed into clothes someone had brought, her jeans and a Giovanni's staff shirt, but they hung wrong like she'd lost weight recently. Did you verify? Her voice was hoarse. The bank transfers are real. My father's running deeper checks now. And if they all come back clean, if I'm telling the truth about everything, then you just declared war on one of the most powerful crime families in New York. Nick leaned against the doorframe. You understand what that means? Robert won't stop hunting you. West won't stop. They'll send professionals, people who don't miss. I know. Sophia's hands twisted together. I've been running from professionals for 3 weeks. I know exactly what they're capable of. Then why come to us? Why not just disappear, change your identity completely and vanish? Sophia's laugh was bitter. You think I didn't try it? I got as far as Chicago, had new papers, new name, new life planned, And then I saw the news your mother's charity foundation shutting down, her projects abandoned, everything she built just dying with her. And I thought about how she'd smiled at me that night, asked me about college, told me I had my whole life ahead of me. Her voice cracked. She was kind to me, and my uncle killed her. So no, I couldn't just disappear. I had to come back, had to try to make it right. Nick studied her face looking for deception, found only exhaustion and guilt that mirrored his own. You feel responsible, he said quietly. Don't you? Sophia met his eyes. You ate the same food, drank from the same bottles. You survived and she didn't. You think that doesn't haunt me? Knowing I could have warned her, could have said something. The words hit Nick like a physical blow because she was right. The survivor's guilt he'd been drowning in, she understood it completely. I dream about it every night, he admitted. The moment she took that last sip, the way her face changed. And I just sat there, didn't understand, didn't save her. You couldn't have known. Neither could you. They stood there, two people bound by the same ghost, the same failure. Come downstairs, Nick said finally. My father's going to want details. Everything you remember about that night, every conversation, every person who touched my mother's plate. Sophia nodded and followed him down. In the kitchen, Antonio had spread documents across 3 tables. Bank statements, phone records, surveillance photos. The investigation laid bare. Miss Castellano, Antonio's voice was formal, cold. Walk me through the dinner. Every detail you remember. Sophia sat at the center table, Nick and Antonio flanking her. She took a breath and began. We arrived at 7:30. Your mother greeted us at the door. She was wearing a blue dress, sapphire earrings. She hugged my uncle like he was family. Sophia's voice was steady, but her hands shook. We sat at table 4. Near the kitchen, Uncle Robert requested that table, specifically said he wanted to be close to the action. But now I think he wanted to be close to the kitchen so he could intercept the food. Who else was at your table? Antonio asked. Just us 2. Uncle Robert said his wife was sick, couldn't make it. But I heard him on the phone that morning. She wasn't sick. He told her not to come, said it wasn't safe. Nick felt rage building. He knew what was going to happen, and he made sure his wife wasn't there. What did you eat? Antonio continued, relentless. We ordered the tasting menu, 7 courses. But Uncle Robert kept getting up, said he had to use the bathroom, take calls. He left the table 4 times during dinner. And during those times, I watched him. Sophia's voice dropped. The second time, he didn't go to the bathroom. He went to the kitchen entrance, stood there for maybe 30 seconds, talked to someone I couldn't see, then came back. Antonio pulled up a photo on his laptop. This man, was this who he talked to? Sophia leaned forward and her face went pale. Yes, that's him. Who is he? Vincent Romano, the business consultant who disappeared 3 days after Maria died. Antonio's voice was ice. We've been looking for him for 6 weeks. Where did you see him? At the kitchen entrance. He handed something to my uncle, small. Could have been a vial, a packet. I couldn't see clearly from our table. And then Uncle Robert went to the bathroom. Real bathroom this time. When he came back, his hands were wet, like he'd washed them, scrubbed them. Nick's stomach turned. He put it in her food himself. That's why he needed to wash, to get rid of residue. But how did he know which plate was hers? Antonio demanded. The kitchen serves identical dishes. How did he target her specifically? Sophia closed her eyes, remembering. Your mother had a shellfish allergy. She always ordered a modified version of the seafood course chicken instead of shrimp. The servers knew. They marked her plate with a small garnish, a sprig of parsley on the left side instead of the right. Jesus Christ, Antonio's hand slammed the table. He used her allergy against her. Knew her plate would be marked. Knew exactly which one to poison. When did he do it? Nick's voice was shaking. When did he actually put the poison in? Course 4, the modified chicken. Your mother excused herself to greet other guests. Her plate sat at the table for maybe 3 minutes. Uncle Robert leaned over, said he was admiring the presentation. But his hand, Sophia's voice broke. His hand was over her plate, just for a second. And when your mother came back, she ate. And 20 minutes later, she was dead. The kitchen went silent except for the hum of refrigerators. Why didn't you say something? Antonio's question was soft but devastating. When you saw her collapse, when the ambulances came, why didn't you tell someone what you'd seen? Because I didn't know what I'd seen. Sophia's voice cracked. I thought maybe I was paranoid. Maybe my uncle was just looking at the food. Maybe I was imagining things. And then when she died, everyone said heart attack, natural causes, the doctors, the police, everyone. So I thought I was crazy, that I'd invented a conspiracy in my head. Until, Nick prompted. Until 3 days later when I asked my uncle about it. Just casually. Said, wasn't it weird how Mrs. Hartley died so suddenly? And he looked at me with these cold eyes and said, sometimes God calls people home early. But the way he said it, I knew. Right then I knew he'd done something. And you confronted him. Not right away. First I searched his study, found the bank records, found emails between him and someone using the name MW, obviously Marco West. Found a burner phone with texts about the delivery and handling the problem. Then I confronted him. What did he say? Sophia's hand unconsciously moved to her scarred arm. He said I was too smart for my own good. Said I was a problem that needed solving. Called his bodyguard, Tony Big Guy ex-military, and told him to take care of me. Tony pulled a knife. Said he'd make it look like a mugging. I ran. How did you get away? Nick asked. Jumped out a second-story window. Landed wrong. Broke my ankle. Tony caught up to me in an alley. That's when he cut me. Sophia rolled up her sleeve, showing the ugly scar again. Would have killed me except a car pulled up. Someone got out. I never saw his face. It was dark, but he fought Tony. Told me to run. Gave me money and car keys. Said, get out of New York. Someone's watching for you. I didn't understand, but I took the keys and drove. Been running ever since. Who was this person? Antonio demanded. I don't know, but he knew my name. Knew I was in danger. Someone sent him to protect me. Nick and Antonio exchanged looks. We didn't send anyone, Antonio said slowly. Then who did? Before anyone could answer, Paulo burst into the kitchen phone in hand face white. Boss, we got a problem. Big problem. What now? Robert Castellano, he's on the move. Left his house 20 minutes ago with 4 armed guards, heading toward Queens. Where in Queens, your house boss, your personal residence. He's going to your house. Antonio's face went dark. Maria's things are there, her documents, her files, everything. He's looking for the proof, Nick said. The evidence Mom said she'd hidden. He knows we're on to him. He's trying to get to it first. How does he know we're investigating? Antonio pulled out his phone. Because someone told him. Sophia's voice was small. Someone in your organization. Someone who's been feeding information to West this whole time. The kitchen went cold. That's impossible, Antonio said, but his voice wavered. Everyone here is loyal. I've vetted them personally. You vetted Robert Castellano too. Trusted him for 40 years. How did that work out? The words hung like poison. Antonio's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered on speaker. Antonio Hartley. The voice was smooth, cultured, mocking. It's been too long. Nick's blood turned to ice. He knew that voice. Marco West. West. Antonio's voice was murder. I'm going to kill you. Are you... That's ambitious for a man whose empire is crumbling. Tell me, how's your son still starving himself? Such a waste. Maria would be so disappointed. Nick's hands clenched into fists. You don't get to say her name, Antonio growled. Why not? We were close, she and I. Did she ever tell you about our lunches, the conversations we had about your business practices? She was very forthcoming. You're lying. Am I? Ask yourself, Antonio, how did I know so much about your shipping routes, your security protocols, your timetables? Someone very close to you was talking. And now that someone is dead and you're scrambling to figure out who betrayed you. West's laugh was cold. It's delicious, really. What do you want? I want you to understand something. Your wife discovered information that could have destroyed me. She was going to the FBI, going to turn evidence. So I removed the threat. Simple business. You murdered her. I solved a problem and now I'm solving another one. You have something that belongs to me. A girl, Sofia Castellano, Robert's niece. She stole documents from him, documents I want back. Send her to me and maybe I'll let you keep breathing. Sophia went white. Never, Antonio said flatly. Then I'll come take her, and I'll burn Giovanni's to the ground, and I'll kill your son in front of you, and then Antonio, then I'll let you live, so you can spend the rest of your miserable life alone, knowing you could have prevented it all by just handing over one insignificant girl. Come try, Antonio's voice was ice. I'll be waiting. Wes laughed. I love your confidence. It reminds me of Maria's. Remember how confident she was the night she died, how she smiled and raised her glass and had no idea it was her last meal. That's the kind of confidence that gets people killed, Antonio. Remember that. The line went dead. The kitchen was silent. Then Sophia stood abruptly. I need to leave now. He's right. I'm putting you all in danger. If I go, he'll leave you alone. Sit down, Antonio commanded. But I said sit down. The roar echoed off stainless steel. Sophia sat. Antonio's hands were shaking with rage. Wes thinks he can threaten my family, threaten my business, threaten people under my protection. He has no idea who he's dealing with. Dad, Nick's voice was quiet. He knows exactly who he's dealing with. That's why he's moving now. He knows we have Sophia, knows we're verifying her story, knows we're coming for Robert. So he's forcing our hand, making us react instead of plan. So what do you suggest? We give him what he wants. Both Antonio and Sophia stared at Nick like he'd lost his mind. Excuse me? Sophia's voice was shaking. We give him what he wants, Nick repeated, his eyes sharp. We send you to him, but not alone and not without preparation. Understanding dawned on Antonio's face. You want to use her as bait. I want to use her as a weapon. Nick turned to Sophia. You said West wants documents you stole from Robert. What documents? Bank transfers, emails, photos of meetings between Robert and West, proof of their partnership. I have copies on a flash drive. Where safety deposit box in Manhattan. I can access it with ID. Perfect. Nick was thinking fast, his mind sharp despite his weakened body. We send West a message, say we'll trade. Sophia and the documents for guaranteed safety. We set the meeting, we control the location. And when West shows up to take her, we take him instead. Antonio finished, a terrible smile spreading across his face. And we make him tell us everything. Who else is involved? What other plays he has? We get it all on record. Video, audio, everything. Then we turn him over to the FBI with Maria's evidence and Sophia's testimony. Legal, clean, no blowback on the family. Antonio stood slowly. You really think West will fall for it? He's arrogant, thinks he's untouchable, and he wants those documents badly enough to risk a meeting. Nick looked at Sophia. Are you willing to do this? Sophia's face was pale, but her jaw was set. If it takes down the people who killed your mother, I'll do it. But I need to know something first. What? Why are you really doing this? The legal route. You could just kill West and Robert. Make them disappear. Why involve the FBI? Nick was quiet for a moment. Because my mother believed in justice. Real justice. Not street justice. Not revenge killings. She was going to the FBI because she wanted to do it right. And his voice caught. I want to honor that. Want to finish what she started. Even if it takes longer. Even if it's harder. Sophia nodded slowly. Okay, then I'm in. Good. Antonio pulled out his phone. Paulo, get me the FBI contact Maria was working with. Yes, I know it's early. Wake them up. Tell them Antonio Hartley wants to make a deal. The next 3 hours were controlled chaos. Phone calls, planning, strategy sessions. The FBI agent, a woman named Sarah Chen, who'd apparently been Maria's contact, arrived at Giovanni's at 9 a.m. looking skeptical and alert. Mr. Hartley? Agent Chen was mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense demeanor. Your wife came to me 6 weeks ago with allegations about Marco West's operations. She said she had proof. Then she died and the proof disappeared. Now you're calling me saying you have a witness and documents. I'm calling because my wife was murdered and I can prove it. Antonio slid the bank records across to her. Robert Castellano, family friend for 40 years, $2.3 million in payments from West. My wife discovered West was using our shipping routes for illegal cargo. She confronted him. He had her killed. Agent Chen studied the documents. This is a good start, but it's not enough for a prosecution. We need more. Direct evidence, testimony, recorded confessions. We can get you all of that, Nick said, but we need immunity for Sofia Castellano, full witness protection, and we need your agents as backup when we meet with West. You want to wear a wire? We want to end this, properly, with West in prison and his empire dismantled. Agent Chen looked at Sofia. You're willing to testify, go on record? Yes, Sofia's voice was steady. Even knowing West will send people after you, that you'll be looking over your shoulder for years. I'm already looking over my shoulder. At least this way it means something. Agent Chen smiled grimly. All right, let's set a trap. The plan came together with brutal efficiency. Nick would contact West, say he wanted to trade Sofia and the documents for a guarantee that West would leave the Hartley family alone. The meeting would be at a neutral location, an abandoned warehouse West owned in Brooklyn. FBI agents would be positioned around the perimeter. Sofia would wear a wire. The goal was to get West talking, get him to confess to Maria's murder on tape. He'll never confess, Sofia warned. He's too smart. He will if he thinks he's won, Nick said. If he thinks we're desperate enough to trade you, he'll gloat. Men like West, it always gloat. At noon, Nick made the call. West answered on the first ring. Hartley, I was wondering when you'd see reason. I want a deal. Nick kept his voice flat, defeated. You get Sofia and her documents. I get your word that my family is off limits. Your word means nothing. Then what do you want? Nick paused, calculating. You have security footage from the night my mother died. The real footage, not the edited version the police saw. I want it. Proof that you weren't involved. West laughed. You want me to prove my innocence? That's rich, but fine. I'll bring the footage. You bring the girl. We trade, and then we never speak again. Where? My warehouse, Red Hook. Brooklyn, you know it. I know it. Tonight, midnight. You bring Sofia and the flash drive. I'll bring the footage. We make the exchange. Everyone walks away alive. West paused. But Hartley, if I even suspect you're bringing backup, if I see one cop or one federal agent, I'll kill the girl in front of you and burn Giovanni's with your father inside. Understand? Understood. Good. See you at midnight. The line went dead. Agent Chen had been listening on speaker. He's going to have shooters everywhere. This is incredibly dangerous. I know, Nick said, but it's the only play we have. The afternoon crept by like torture. Sofia was fitted with a wire, nearly invisible tech hidden in a necklace. Agent Chen's team planned positions around the warehouse. Antonio pulled Nick aside. You don't have to do this, Nicky. We can send someone else. No, it has to be me. West expects me. If someone else shows up, he'll know something's wrong. You're barely recovered. 3 weeks of starvation, you can't. I can. Nick met his father's eyes. Mom died while I sat across from her doing nothing. I'm not sitting out her revenge too. Antonio's jaw worked. Finally, he nodded. Then I'm coming with you. Dad, non-negotiable. You go, I go. Nick wanted to argue but saw the steel in his father's eyes. Fine, but you stay in the car. This is my fight. It's our fight, Nicky. It's always been our fight. At 11 p.m., they gathered in Giovanni's kitchen one last time. Nick, Antonio, Sofia, Paolo, Dimitri, and Agent Chen. Everyone clear on the plan? Chen asked. Nods all around. Sofia, if at any point you feel unsafe, you say the code word, and my team moves in immediately. Understand why. What's the code word? Giovanni's. You work it into conversation naturally. Say it and we extract you within 30 seconds. Sofia nodded. Nick looked at her, really looked. She was terrified but trying to hide it. Brave. Braver than she had any right to be. You don't have to do this, he said quietly. Yes, I do. Sofia's voice was firm. Your mother deserves justice. And I deserve to stop running. They drove to Red Hook in silence. The warehouse loomed against the night sky, concrete and rust windows, broken the smell of the river thick in the air. West's territory. Nick parked the Mercedes 50 feet from the entrance. Killed the engine. Last chance to back out, Antonio said. Not backing out. Nick opened the door. Sofia followed. Together they walked toward the warehouse entrance. Behind them, invisible in the darkness, FBI agents took their positions. The warehouse door stood open. Light spilled from inside. Nick and Sofia entered. The interior was vast. empty except for a table in the center. At the table sat Marco West. He was younger than Nick expected. Mid-40s, expensive suit, salt and pepper hair. The kind of face that would fit at a charity gala or a boardroom. Nothing about him screamed monster. That was the worst part. Nicholas Hartley. West stood smiling. You look terrible. Starvation doesn't suit you. Where's the footage? Nick's voice was flat. Where's the flash drive? Sophia held it up. West's eyes gleamed. Good. Put it on the table. Footage first. West reached into his jacket. Nick tensed, ready for a gun, but West pulled out a USB drive instead. Security footage from the night your mother died. Unedited. You'll see everyone who entered and left the dining room, including Robert Castellano making his little trip to the kitchen. Why would you give me this? Nick asked. It incriminates you. Does it? West's smile widened. Watch it carefully, Nicholas. You'll see Robert. You'll see Vincent or Romano. But you won't see me, because I wasn't there. I didn't pull the trigger, didn't put poison in the glass. I simply hired people who did, and that in a court of law is much harder to prove. You're confessing. I'm stating facts. Your mother was a problem. Robert owed me money. I solved two problems at once. Business. You murdered her. Nick's control cracked. I removed an obstacle. There's a difference. West gestured to the flash drive. Now, your turn. Sophia stepped forward, set the drive on the table. West picked it up, examined it. All the documents, everything. Everything, Sophia said. Good girl. You know Robert was stupid to let you live. Should have killed you the moment you started asking questions. But he always was sentimental about family. That weakness cost him. Cost him what? Sophia asked. West's smile was terrible. His life. Robert Castellano died an hour ago. Heart attack. Very tragic. Turns out the stress of betraying old friends was too much for him. Nick's blood went cold. You killed him. I cleaned up a loose end, just like I'm about to clean up another one. West pulled a gun from his jacket, aimed it at Sophia. Did you really think I'd let you walk away? You know too much. You've seen too much. You're a liability. You said we had a deal, Nick shouted. I lied. West cocked the gun. I'm going to kill her, and then I'm going to kill you, and then I'm going to burn this city's memory of Maria Hartley until no one even remembers she existed. Sophia didn't say the code word. Instead, she looked West dead in the eye and said, Do you want to know who sent that stranger to save me, the man in the alley who fought Tony? West hesitated. What? Someone in your organization, someone who knew you'd ordered me killed and didn't agree with it. Someone who's been feeding information to the FBI for 6 months. Want to know who? West's face went pale. You're bluffing. Am I? Sophia smiled. Why do you think the FBI knew about your shipping routes, your money laundering, your connections to the Castellano family? Someone close to you has been talking, Marco. Someone you trust. And they're going to destroy you. West's gun wavered. Who? And in that moment of distraction, the warehouse lights blazed to life. FBI dropped the weapon. Agents poured in from every entrance. West spun gun raised, but he was surrounded. Outgunned. Trapped. He dropped the weapon. Agent Chen walked forward, handcuffs ready. Marco West, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder racketeering and about 15 other charges I'm going to enjoy reading to you. West's eyes locked on Nick. You set me up. I learned from the best. Nick's voice was cold. My mother taught me how to play chess. Always think 3 moves ahead. You thought you were smart. You walked right into our trap. The confession won't hold up in court. I'll have lawyers. You confessed to multiple murders on a wire that's currently being transmitted to 3 separate FBI field offices. Chen smiled. We have everything. Your admission, the security footage, Sophia's testimony, the documents. It's over West. As they dragged him away, West screamed threats, promises of revenge, warnings about what his people would do. But Nick wasn't listening. He was thinking about his mother, about the justice she'd wanted, about the empire she'd tried to protect. And for the first time in 6 weeks, he felt like he could breathe. Outside the warehouse, Antonio waited. When Nick emerged with Sophia, the old man pulled his son into a fierce embrace. It's done, Nick whispered. It's finally done. Not quite, Antonio said quietly. There's still one loose end. What? Sophia's mystery savior, the person who protected her, the one feeding information to the FBI. Antonio looked at Sophia. Did you tell West the truth? Is there really a mole in his organization? Sophia's face was unreadable. Yes, there is, but I don't know who. The stranger never showed his face, just said someone was watching out for me. Someone who wanted West stopped. Agent Chen joined them. We'll find out. When we tear apart West's empire, every secret will come to light, including who betrayed him. But Nick saw something flicker across Sophia's face. A knowledge, a secret. She knew who the mole was, and she wasn't telling. Nick caught Sophia's wrist as she turned to leave. You're lying. She froze. Agent Chen and Antonio stopped mid-conversation. What? Sophia's voice was too careful. You know who saved you. You know who the mole is. Nick's grip tightened. Not painful, but insistent. I saw your face when Chen said we'd find out. You flinched, you know. Sophia tried to pull away. Don't lie to me, Nick's shout echoed across the empty lot. My mother died because people lied, because people kept secrets. If you know something, you tell me now. Nikki let her go. Antonio's voice was warning. No, not until she tells the truth. Nick's eyes burned into Sophia's. Who saved you? Who's the mole in West's organization? Sophia's face crumpled. Tears spilled down on her cheeks. I can't. If I tell you, he'll die. He... Antonio moved closer. Who's he? Sophia's voice dropped to a whisper. My brother. The words hung in the night air like a boom. Your brother. Nick released her wrist. You never mentioned a brother. Because he's supposed to be dead. Sophia's hand shook. Car accident. 5 years ago. That's what Uncle Robert told everyone. Had a funeral. Closed casket. I mourned him. But he's alive. Yes, Uncle Robert faked his death because my brother, his name is Daniel, found out about Robert's dealings with West. Daniel was going to expose him. So Robert gave him a choice, disappear and live or stay and die. Daniel chose to disappear. And then what? Agent Chen demanded. Then he became a ghost, changed his identity, went to work for West under a fake name, spent 5 years working his way up in the organization, gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment to bring West down. Antonio's face went white. What name? What's he calling himself now? Sophia met his eyes. Vincent Romano. The name dropped like a guillotine. Nick staggered back. No Vincent Romano disappeared. He was the one who gave Robert the poison. He was playing a role. Sophia's voice was fierce now. Daniel gave Robert the poison, yes, but it was a fake, harmless substance that looked like digoxin but wouldn't actually hurt anyone. The real poison came from somewhere else. Someone else. You're saying Vincent Daniel, your brother, wasn't the one who killed my mother. Nick's voice was shaking. I'm saying he tried to stop it. That's why he disappeared after she died, because the plan went wrong. Someone switched the fake poison for real poison. Someone knew what Daniel was doing and sabotaged him. Agent Chen pulled out her phone. I need to verify this, now. If what you're saying is true, it's true. Sophia grabbed Chen's arm. Daniel's been feeding you information for 6 months. The shipping route intel, the money laundering details. All of it. He's your source. Your mole. And if West people find out, they'll execute him. West is in custody, Antonio said. His people are scattered. His known people are scattered. But West has connections everywhere. Police, judges, FBI agents. Sophia looked at Chen meaningfully. You really think your agency is clean? That West doesn't have someone on the inside? Chen's face hardened. I vetted my team personally. Like Antonio vetted Robert Castellano? How'd that work out? The silence was brutal. Chen made a call, turned away, spoke in low, urgent tones. When she came back, her face was ashen. We have a problem. I just tried to access the files on Vincent Romano. They've been wiped, completely erased from our database. Someone with high-level clearance deleted everything in the last 20 minutes. Since West was arrested, Nick said slowly, since West made his phone call from the transport van. Chen's jaw clenched. We let him call his lawyer, standard procedure, but he could have called anyone, could have sent a coded message. To the mole in the FBI, Sophia's voice was hollow, to whoever's been protecting him. And now Daniel's blown. They know he's the leak. They're going to kill him. Antonio grabbed his phone. Where is he, your brother? Where does he hide? I don't know. He never told me. Said it was safer if I didn't know. Then how did he contact you? Dead drops. He'd leave messages in places only I knew to check. Last one was 3 days ago. Said he was close to getting the evidence you needed. Said he was going to finish what your mother started. Nick's mind raced. My mother. She was working with him, wasn't she? That's how she got all that information on West. Daniel was her source. Sophia nodded. They met 6 times, always in public places, coffee shops, parks. He gave her everything. Bank records, shipping manifests, photos. She was building an airtight case. So why did she die? Nick's voice cracked. If Daniel gave her fake poison, who gave Robert the real stuff? That's what Daniel's been trying to figure out for 6 weeks. Who knew about his plan? Who had access to swap the poison? Who wanted your mother dead badly enough to risk exposure? Antonio's phone rang, unknown number. He answered on speaker. Mr. Hartley? The voice was young, male, terrified. My name is Daniel Castellano. I'm Sophia's brother, and I'm currently bleeding out in a warehouse in Queens. West's people found me. They know I'm the mole. I've got maybe 30 minutes before I lose consciousness. If you want the truth about who really killed your wife, you need to get here now. Where Antonio was already moving toward the car. 347 Industrial Drive, 3rd floor. Come alone. If I see FBI, I'm gone. I'm bringing my son. Fine, but no one else. I've got insurance, video confession documents, everything hidden in a place only Sophia knows. If I die before I can tell you the truth, it all disappears. Your mother's killer walks free. The line went dead. Nick was already in the car. Let's go. Wait, Agent Chen blocked the door. This could be a trap. West's people could be using Daniel to lure you. Then they succeed. Nick's voice was ice. Because I'm not letting my mother's killer walk free over maybes. Antonio gunned the engine. They peeled out, leaving Chen shouting into her phone. Sophia appeared in the back seat. She climbed in while no one was watching. You're not coming, Nick said. He's my brother. I'm coming. There was no time to argue. The drive to Queens took 12 minutes of running red lights and breaking every traffic law. The warehouse was dark, abandoned, the kind of place where people disappeared. They entered through a side door. Stairs led up into darkness. Antonio drew his gun. Nick followed, wishing he had a weapon. Sophia stayed close behind. 3rd floor. A door hung open. Light spilled from inside. Daniel Castellano sat propped against a wall, blood pooling around his left leg. He was younger than Nick expected, maybe 30, dark hair like Sophia's, same sharp eyes but fading fast. You came. His voice was weak. Sophia rushed forward. Daniel. Oh God. Oh God. It's okay, Soph. Just a leg wound. Hurts like hell but won't kill me. Probably. He coughed and blood flecked his lips. Okay might kill me, but not for a while. Who did this? Antonio knelt beside him. West's inside man. The FBI mole. He found out I was the leak, came to tie up loose ends. Daniel's hand pressed against his leg wound. But I got him first. He's dead. Body's in the next room. And before you ask, yes, I know who killed Maria Hartley. And no, you're not going to like it. Nick's heart was hammering. Tell me. It wasn't West. Not directly. West wanted her scared. Wanted her to back off the FBI. The poison was supposed to make her sick. Put her in the hospital for a few weeks. Give him time to destroy evidence and disappear witnesses. I gave Robert a compound that would cause vomiting and weakness, but nothing fatal. Checked it 3 times. It was safe. So what happened? Antonio's voice was deadly quiet. Someone switched it. Between the time I gave it to Robert and the time Robert used it. Someone with access to Robert's house. Someone who knew the plan. Someone who wanted Maria dead, not just scared. Who? Nick's shout echoed. Daniel's eyes met his. Your father's business partner. Michael Torino. The name hit like a freight train. Antonio went white. No, Michael's been with me for 30 years. He's family. He was at my wedding. He's been embezzling from your company for 5 years. Daniel pulled a blood-stained folder from his jacket. $2 million. Maria discovered it 3 weeks before she died. She confronted him. gave him a chance to confess, to pay it back. Instead, he went to West, made a deal. He'd make sure the poison killed Maria instead of just making her sick. In exchange, West would hide him, give him a new identity, set him up in Miami with enough money to live like a king. Nick grabbed the folder, bank statements, transfer records, emails between Michael Torino and Marco West, and photos. Michael meeting with West in dark parking garages. Michael handing over documents. He betrayed us. Nick's voice was hollow. For money. He killed my mother for money. Where is he now? Antonio's hands were shaking with rage. Miami, penthouse apartment under the name Marcus Torres. West was supposed to join him there after he cleaned up loose ends here. They were going to disappear. Start over. Leave you with nothing. Sophia was crying, holding her brother. Daniel, we need to get you to a hospital. Not yet, not until I tell them everything. Daniel coughed again. Michael also knew about me. Figured out I was the mole 6 weeks ago. He's the one who told West, but he couldn't prove it. Couldn't expose me without exposing himself. So he waited, planned, and tonight after West got arrested, Michael sent his cleanup crew after me. 3 guys, professional killers. And you took them all down, Nick asked. I took down 2. The third one's in the next room with a bullet in his head, but he got my leg first. Daniel's smile was weak. Turns out I'm not as good at this as I thought. Antonio stood. Michael Torino. I gave him everything. Trust, responsibility, access to my family. And he killed my wife. There's more. Daniel's voice was fading. The FBI mole. The agent who erased my files. I got his confession on video before I killed him. It's on my phone. Password is Sophia's birthday. You'll want to show that to Agent Chen. Let her clean her own house. Who was it? Antonio demanded. Agent David Morrison, Chen's second in command. He's been feeding West information for 3 years. Every FBI operation, every investigation, every witness. West knew it all because Morrison told him. The revelations kept coming like body blows. Nick felt dizzy. His mother hadn't just been killed by one traitor. She'd been killed by a web of them. West, Robert, Michael, Morrison, all working together to destroy her. How did you get all this? Nick asked. How did you infiltrate so deep? Daniel's laugh was bitter. By being the son of a monster. Robert Castellano raised me to be just like him. Taught me how to lie, how to manipulate, how to kill without conscience. I learned every lesson. And then I turned it all against him. Against West. Against everyone who thought they could get away with murder. Why? Sophia's voice was soft. Why risk your life for this? Because Mom. Daniel's eyes closed. Our real mom, not Robert's wife. Our biological mother. She died when I was 12. You were 7, remember? Sophia nodded, tears streaming. She died because Robert was driving drunk. Crashed the car. She died instantly. He walked away without a scratch, and the police, they ruled it an accident. No charges, no justice. Robert paid them off, made it disappear. Daniel's voice was shaking. I watched him buy his way out of murdering our mother, and I swore I'd never let anyone do that again. Never let money and power win over truth. So when you found out about West, Nick started, I saw a chance to bring down an entire empire built on blood and lies. West, Robert, all of them. And when I met Maria Hartley, when I saw that she was fighting the same fight, I knew I had to help her, had to give her the ammunition she needed to win. But she lost, Antonio said quietly. She lost the battle, but not the war. Daniel opened his eyes. Everything she gathered, everything I gave her, she hid it. Video confessions from West people who wanted out. Financial records going back 20 years. Names, dates, crimes, enough to bring down 50 people. Enough to dismantle West's entire organization and everyone connected to it. Nick grabbed Daniel's shoulder. Where did she hide it? That's the genius part. She hid it in the one place no one would ever look. The one place that's been right under your nose this entire time. Daniel smiled. Giovanni's restaurant. Your mother had a safe installed in the wine cellar, behind the 1947 Chateau Margaux. That wine's worth $50,000. No one would ever move it. No one would ever touch it. But behind it is a wall safe, Combination is your parents' wedding anniversary. Antonio's face went slack. The wine cellar. We've been walking past it for 6 weeks. She planned for everything. Knew she might not survive. So she created a dead man switch. If she didn't check in with Daniel every 72 hours, he was supposed to send the location and combination to the FBI. But then she died and Daniel had to disappear before he could send it. And then everything went to hell. But now we have it. Nick stood. We have everything. Not everything. Daniel's voice was getting weaker. You still need to catch Michael Torino. He's the one who actually switched the poison. The one who murdered your mother with his own hands. West ordered it. Robert delivered it. But Michael made it lethal. He's the trigger man. Where in Miami? Antonio's voice was murder. Exact address. Daniel rattled off an address. Antonio was already on the phone calling someone. Giving orders, calling in favors. Sophia. Daniel reached for his sister's hand. I need you to promise me something. Anything. If I don't make it, if I die here, you take the evidence to the FBI. You testify. You finish this. Promise me. You're not dying, you stubborn idiot. Sophia was crying. We're getting you to a hospital. Promise me first. I promise, I promise. Okay, now shut up and let me save your life. Nick pulled out his phone, called Agent Chen. We need an ambulance, now, and you need to arrest one of your own agents. David Morrison, he's West's mole. Daniel Castellano has video proof. Morrison's dead killed in self-defense, but the video's on Daniel's phone. Password is Sophia's birthday, whatever that is. October 15th, Sophia whispered. October 15th, get here now. 347 Industrial Drive, 3rd floor, and Chen clean your house. Because if there are more balls, I swear to God, I'll handle it. Chen's voice was steel. Ambulance is en route. Hold tight. The next 15 minutes were chaos. Paramedics arrived. FBI agents swarmed the building. Agent Chen personally secured Daniel's phone, watched the video, and went pale. Morrison. She looked sick. I trusted him, worked with him for 8 years, and he was dirty the whole time. Welcome to my world, Antonio said grimly. 40 years trusting people who were waiting to stab me in the back. They loaded Daniel into the ambulance. Sophia climbed in with him. I'll meet you at the hospital, Nick called. Sophia looked back. We're not done. Michael Torino is still out there. Not for long. Nick's voice was ice. The ambulance pulled away, siren screaming. Agent Chen approached Antonio. We need to get to Giovanni's, secure that safe. If everything Daniel said is true, that evidence could bring down the biggest criminal organization on the East Coast. It's true, Antonio was already walking to his car. Every word. My wife wouldn't have hidden evidence unless she had something worth hiding. And if she had confessions, financials, all of it, West's empire is finished. They drove to Giovanni's in a convoy. FBI vehicles front and back. Inside the restaurant, the wine cellar was exactly as Nick remembered. Rows of bottles, dim lighting, the smell of oak and thyme. The 1947 Chateau Margaux sat in its place of honor. Antonio moved it carefully, reverently. Behind it, a small wall panel. Wedding anniversary, Nick said. When were you married? May 23rd, 1985. Antonio's hands shook as he entered the code, 05-23-85. The safe clicked open. Inside were 3 USB drives, a stack of documents 2 inches thick, and a letter. Antonio recognized the handwriting immediately. Maria. He opened the letter with trembling hands, read aloud. My darling Tony and Nikki, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you everything while I was alive. But I was protecting you, both of you. The evidence in this safe is enough to destroy Marco West and everyone connected to him. Bank records, video confessions, witness statements, everything the FBI needs to prosecute. But it's also enough to destroy us because some of that evidence implicates Hartley business dealings, gray area operations that would bring federal scrutiny. I didn't want that for you, didn't want our empire tainted, so I made a choice. I was going to give the FBI only the evidence against West. Keep the Hartley evidence separate. Clean, let us walk away from this with our reputation intact. But if I'm dead, then my priority changes. Justice matters more than reputation. So give them everything. Burn it all down if you have to, but make sure West pays. Make sure everyone who helped him pays. I love you both. Stay strong. Finish this. Maria. Antonio's tears fell onto the paper. Nick felt his chest crack open. His mother had died trying to protect them, trying to bring down West while keeping the family safe. And she'd failed. But she'd left them the tools to finish the job. Agent Chen took the USB drives with gloved hands. This is enough, more than enough. We'll have warrants issued by morning. Arrest by the end of the week. West's entire organization will crumble. What about Michael Torino? Nick demanded. Miami field office is moving on him now. We'll have him in custody within the hour. No, Antonio's voice was flat. You'll have him in a body bag. Chen's eyes narrowed. Mr. Hartley, don't do anything stupid. Stupid would be letting the man who murdered my wife live long enough to see a courtroom. Stupid would be trusting the justice system to handle a man with enough money to buy his way out. Stupid would be waiting. Antonio pulled out his phone, made a call. It's done, yes. The address I gave you, make it clean. No witnesses. And make sure he knows why he's dying. Make sure he knows it's for Maria. He hung up. Chen stepped forward. Antonio, if I have someone killed, you going to arrest me, Agent Chen? The man who just handed you the biggest case of your career, the man whose wife was murdered by a conspiracy your own agency was part of. Antonio's smile was terrible. Go ahead, arrest me. See how that plays in court. See how it looks when you prosecute the victim's husband for getting justice when the FBI couldn't. Chen's jaw clenched. She knew he was right, knew that arresting Antonio now would destroy the case, would make martyrs of the Hartleys, would turn public opinion against the FBI. I didn't hear this conversation, she said finally. What conversation? Antonio's voice was cold. Chen left with the evidence. FBI agents filed out. Soon only Nick and Antonio remained in the wine cellar surrounded by bottles worth more than most people's houses. Dad, Nick's voice was quiet. You just ordered a hit. I know. That's not who we are. Mom wanted justice, legal justice. Your mother is dead. Antonio's roar echoed off stone walls. She wanted legal justice, and where did it get her poisoned at her own dinner table? No, Nicky. Legal justice is for people who play by the rules. Michael Torino stopped playing by the rules the moment he switched that poison. So now we play by different rules. Older rules. The kind of justice that actually works. Nick wanted to argue, wanted to say his mother wouldn't want this, but he remembered her face, remembered her dying, remembered 6 weeks of paranoia and starvation and fear, and he realized his father was right. Some justice couldn't wait for courts. Antonio's phone rang an hour later. The call lasted 10 seconds. He hung up and looked at Nick. It's done. Michael Torino died of a heart attack in his Miami penthouse. Very tragic, very sudden. The kind of heart attack that comes from a syringe full of potassium chloride. The same way Mom died, Nick said quietly. Poetic justice. Antonio poured 2 glasses of whiskey from a bottle that had been aging since before Nick was born. To Maria, may she rest knowing her killers are dead or dying. They drank in silence. Later at the hospital, Daniel Castellano was in surgery. Sophia sat in the waiting room, exhausted and terrified. Nick found her there. How is he? They don't know yet. He lost a lot of blood, but he's strong, stubborn, like our father, but in the good ways. Sophia looked up. Did you get the evidence? Yes, everything. Your brother saved us, saved this whole city from West's empire. And Torino, the man who actually killed your mother, Nick sat beside her. Dead, an hour ago, Miami. Sophia didn't ask how, didn't ask who, just nodded. Good. They sat together in silence, 2 people bound by trauma, by loss, by the strange intimacy that comes from surviving hell together. What happens now? Sophia asked. Now we wait, for Daniel to recover, for the FBI to make their arrests, for the trials, for... Nick paused. For life to maybe be normal again. You think it ever will be normal? No. Nick's voice was honest. But maybe that's okay. Maybe we build something new, something better. Sophia's hand found his, squeezed. Your mother would be proud of what you did, how you finished her fight. She'd be furious that it cost so much, that people died, that we had to become darker to win. Maybe, but she'd also know it was necessary. Sometimes the only way to stop monsters is to become a little monstrous yourself. A doctor emerged, Sophia stood. Daniel Castellano's family. That's me. How is he? He's going to make it. Lost the leg below the knee, too much damage to save it. But he's alive, stable, asking for you. Sophia's legs nearly gave out. Nick caught her. Thank you, she whispered to the doctor. Then to Nick, come with me. He'll want to meet you properly. The man whose mother he tried to save. They walked to Daniel's room together. He was pale, hooked to machines, but his eyes were clear. Nicholas Hartley. Daniel's voice was weak but steady. The heir who wouldn't eat. Daniel Castellano, the ghost who saved my family. We saved each other. Daniel looked at his sister. Soph, you kept your promise. You finished it. We all finished it. Sophia's tears fell. Together. West, in custody, looking at 50 years minimum. Robert, dead. West killed him to tie up loose ends. Torino, Nick answered, dead. Heart attack, very sudden. Daniel's smile was knowing. Heart attack, right. Well, can't say he didn't earn it. The FBI has everything. Mom's evidence, your confessions, all of it. They're moving on West's organization now. By this time tomorrow, 70 people will be under arrest. Good. Daniel closed his eyes. Then it was worth it. All of it, even the leg. I'm sorry, Nick said, that you lost so much for us. Don't be. I lost a leg. You lost a mother. Sophia lost 5 years with her brother. We all paid, but we won. And that's what matters. A nurse entered. Visiting hours are ending. He needs rest. Nick and Sophia left Daniel sleeping. In the hallway, they stopped. What now for you? Nick asked. Witness protection, new identity. I don't know, maybe. Or maybe I stay. Help your father rebuild. Giovanni's needs a kitchen manager, doesn't it? Sophia's smile was small but real. It does. But Sophia, you understand what staying means. You'll be connected to this family. To everything we are, everything we do. It's not safe. It's not simple. Safe is boring. Simple is for people who haven't survived what we survived. She met his eyes. I'm staying, if you'll have me. Nick realized he'd been hoping she'd say that. We'll have you. Welcome to the family. They walked out of the hospital together as dawn broke over New York. The city that had taken so much from them. The city they'd fought to save. And somewhere in that city in federal lockup, Marco West sat in a cell and realized his empire was falling. Realized that the woman he'd killed had beaten him from beyond the grave. Realized that the Hartleys always won in the end. Because that's what families did. They protected each other. And they never forgot. The first warning came 6 hours after dawn in the form of an explosion that shattered every window on the 3rd floor of Giovanni's. Nick had been sitting in the office going through his mother's documents when the blast threw him across the room. Glass rained down like crystal daggers. His ears rang. Smoke filled his lungs. Nicky, Antonio's voice from somewhere below. Nicky, answer me. Nick crawled through debris, tasting blood. I'm alive. Another explosion, this one from the kitchen. The building shook. Sprinklers activated, raining water and ash. Nick made it to the stairs. Antonio was already there, gun drawn, face grim. Car bomb, Antonio said. Parked outside. Remote detonated. Someone sending a message. West's people. West's in custody. This is someone else. Antonio pulled Nick down as gunfire erupted from the street. Someone who doesn't want those arrests happening. They hit the floor. Bullets punched through what was left of the windows. Paulo appeared from nowhere, returning fire with a shotgun that roared like thunder. 3 shooters, Paulo shouted. Maybe 4 professional setup. They're trying to pin us inside. Where's Dimitri? Antonio demanded. Dead. They got him first, put 2 in his chest before he even drew his weapon. Nick felt ice in his veins. Dimitri had been with the family for 15 years, had taught Nick how to shoot when he was 12, and now he was dead on the street outside Giovanni's because someone wanted to send a message. Antonio's phone rang. He answered on speaker while reloading his pistol. Hartley, the voice was smooth, female, unfamiliar. You should have stayed out of this. Who is this? Someone who's been cleaning up Marco West's messes for 10 years. And you just made the biggest mess imaginable. The woman's voice was cold, clinical. 70 arrests, 40 million in seized assets, 5 years of careful construction destroyed in one night. That's not acceptable. Wes killed my wife. Wes followed orders, just like I'm following orders now. The difference is my orders come from people you can't arrest, can't touch, can't even name. The woman paused. Here's how this works. You withdraw your testimony. Tell the FBI you were mistaken. Maria Hartley died of natural causes. The evidence was fabricated. You walk away, and maybe I let you live. Go to hell. Wrong answer. The line went dead. 2 seconds later, the front of Giovanni's exploded inward. The entire facade collapsed, brick and mortar and 90 years of history reduced to rubble in an instant. Nick and Antonio ran for the back exit. Paulo covered them his shotgun, buying seconds with every blast. They burst into the alley behind the restaurant and found 2 SUVs blocking their escape. Men in tactical gear poured out. No police markings, no identification, just weapons and cold efficiency. Down! Antonio shoved Nick behind a dumpster as bullets tore through metal. We're pinned. Who are these people? Nick shouted over the gunfire. Professionals, military trained. This isn't mob violence. Nicky, this is something else. Paulo went down. A bullet caught him in the shoulder. He fired his last shell and collapsed. Antonio grabbed Nick's face. Listen to me. When I say run, you run. Don't look back. Don't stop. Get to the safe house on Lexington. You know the one, Dad? I'm not leaving. You're the heir. You're all that's left of this family. If we both die here, everything Maria built dies with us. Antonio's eyes were fierce. Promise me you'll run, Dad. Promise me. I promise. Antonio kissed his forehead, then stood and opened fire, drawing the shooter's attention. Run! Nick ran, hated himself for it, ran anyway. Behind him, gunfire. His father's voice shouting. Paulo screaming, the sound of men dying. He made it 3 blocks before a car screeched up beside him. The door flew open. Get in, Sophia's voice. Nick didn't question. Dove into the passenger seat. Sophia gunned the engine. The car, a beat-up Honda she'd apparently hot-wired, fishtailed around a corner. How did you... Daniel called me from the hospital. Said he was monitoring police scanners. Said Giovanni's was under attack. Sophia's hands were white-knuckled on the wheel. I stole the first car I could find. Where's Antonio? Fighting. Buying me time to escape. Nick looked back. Smoke rose from Giovanni's. We have to go back. We have to stay alive. Sophia ran a red light. That's what Antonio wanted. That's what Daniel said. They're coming for all of us. Everyone connected to the evidence. Everyone who testified. They're cleaning house. Nick's phone rang. Agent Chen. Don't go home. Chen's voice was panicked. Don't go anywhere familiar. We've got reports of hits happening all over the city. Every witness we brought in, someone's killing them. Professional teams, this is coordinated. This is... Who's behind this? Nick demanded. I don't know, but it's bigger than West. Bigger than his organization. Someone with serious resources is burning down everyone connected to this case. Where do we go? I'm sending you coordinates. Safe house. Federal protection. But Nick, Chen's voice dropped. Trust no one. Not my agents, not your people, not anyone. Someone inside leaked our witness list. This is an inside job. The coordinates came through. Address in Brooklyn, Warehouse District. That's a trap, Sophia said, looking at the phone. Probably. Nick closed his eyes, thought, calculated. But everywhere else is definitely a trap. At least this one might have federal agents who aren't trying to kill us. Might. It's all we've got. They drove in tense silence. Nick tried calling his father. No answer. Tried Paulo. Nothing. The radio reported a fire at Giovanni's. Casualties unknown. Police responding. His whole life was burning. Again. I'm sorry. Sophia's voice was quiet. This is my fault. I brought this to your door. You saved my life. Multiple times. This isn't on you. Nick watched the city blur past. This is on whoever's pulling the strings, whoever wants this evidence buried badly enough to start a war. Chen said someone leaked the witness list, someone inside the FBI. Morrison was the mole, Chen's second in command. We already knew that. But what if there's another one? What if Morrison wasn't alone? Sophia took a sharp turn. Think about it. Morrison's dead. Daniel killed him, but this happened after Morrison died. Someone else gave the order. Someone else leaked the list. Nick's phone rang again. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. Nick Hartley. The voice was old, male, tired. My name is Judge Robert Kimball. Your mother came to me 3 months ago. She said if anything happened to her, I should contact you. She said you'd need help. And she was right. Who are you? Federal judge. 30 years on the bench. I've been investigating corruption in law enforcement for 5 years. Your mother was helping me build a case, the evidence she collected. It wasn't just about Marco West. It was about everyone protecting him. Police, FBI, district attorneys, judges, a whole network of corruption. Nick's head spun. How deep does this go? All the way to the top. The woman who called you earlier, the one giving orders. Her name is Victoria Strand. She runs a private military company called Sentinel Solutions. For the last decade, she's been the enforcement arm for a group of very powerful people who don't want their business practices examined too closely. What business practices? Everything West was doing and more. Human trafficking, weapons smuggling, political assassination. This group, they always have a name, but we call them in the syndicate. They control billions in illegal operations. West was just one piece. Your mother discovered the whole picture, and that's why they killed her. Jesus Christ, Nick felt sick. So West didn't order the hit. West suggested it, but Strand approved it. The syndicate funded it. And now that you've exposed West, they're eliminating everyone who knows anything. The witnesses, the evidence, everyone. What about the FBI agent Chen's team? Chen's clean, but her boss isn't. Deputy Director Marcus Levine. He's been on the syndicate's payroll for 8 years. He's the one who leaked the witness list. He's the one coordinating the cleanup. Then we're dead. If the deputy director of the FBI is dirty, we can't trust anyone. You can trust me. Judge Kimball's voice was steel. Your mother did, and I whispered her the truth. Come to my chambers. Federal courthouse. I'll have marshals waiting. Real marshals. People I've vetted personally. We'll get you into protective custody, real protective custody, and we'll finish what Maria started. How do I know this isn't another trap? You don't, but I knew your mother's maiden name, Rossini. I knew she had a birthmark on her left shoulder shaped like Italy. I knew she made you memorize Dante's Inferno when you were 10 because she said hell was something every Hartley needed to understand. Kimball's voice softened. She trusted me with secrets she didn't tell anyone else. I won't betray that trust. Not now. Not ever. The details were right. Intimate. Things only someone close to Maria would know. Send me the address. Already sent. And Nick, hurry. Strand's teams are efficient. You've got maybe an hour before they find you. The call ended. Sophia was already changing course. Federal courthouse. You trust this judge? My mother did. That's enough. They made it to the courthouse with 40 minutes to spare. Armed marshals met them at the entrance. Real ones, Nick could tell. Nick could tell, not hired killers in borrowed uniforms. These men had the casual competence of people who'd been protecting witnesses for decades. Judge Kimball waited in his chambers. He was 70 if he was a day. Silver hair, kind eyes, the kind of face that belonged on a grandfather, not a federal judge, investigating the largest criminal conspiracy in American history. Nicholas, Kimball stood, extended his hand. You look like your mother. Same eyes, same stubborn set to your jaw. You knew her well. For 3 years, she'd come here twice a month. Always at night, always alone. She'd bring me evidence, documents, recordings. We'd go through it together. Build the case piece by piece. Kimball gestured to a wall safe. Everything she gave me is in there. Backups of backups. Even if the syndicate destroys the evidence at Giovanni's, we still have copies. They blew up my family's restaurant, Nick said flatly. Killed my father's bodyguard. Maybe killed my father. All to destroy evidence. Your father's alive. Kimball pulled up a laptop. Security footage showed Antonio being loaded into an ambulance. Gunshot wound to the abdomen. Critical but stable. He's at Mount Sinai under armed guard. My people. Not FBI, not police. Mine. Nick's legs almost gave out with relief. He's alive. He's tough, like his wife was. Kimball turned to Sophia. And you must be Daniel Castellano's sister. The one who started all this by refusing to stay silent. Sophia Turner or Castellano? I don't even know anymore. You're brave. That's what you are. Kimball opened his safe. Now, let me show you what your mother died for, what she was really investigating. He pulled out files, dozens of them, hundreds of pages, names Nick recognized, senators, governors, CEOs, police commissioners. The syndicate, Kimball said, is comprised of 12 people. Collectively, they control an estimated $200 billion in assets, legal and illegal. They've been operating for 30 years, building power, buying influence, eliminating threats. And my mother threatened them. Your mother was going to expose them. She had names. She had bank accounts. She had video evidence of Senator Patricia Walters ordering the assassination of a journalist. She had audio of Governor Thomas Brennan discussing human trafficking routes. She had everything. Nick stared at the files. Why didn't she go public? Why hide it? Because she wanted to do it right, wanted ironclad cases, wanted to make sure every arrest stuck. One mistake, one procedural error, and these people walk. They have the best lawyers money can buy. They have judges in their pocket, not me, thank God, but others. She needed everything perfect. So she died with it perfect. And now what? We release it and they kill us. We release it and we survive the counterattack. Kimball's voice was hard. I've been preparing for this moment for 3 years. I have copies of this evidence in 7 different locations. Safety deposit boxes, storage units, cloud servers in countries beyond their reach. If something happens to me, to you, to anyone, it all goes public automatically. Dead man switch. Multiple dead man switches. Then why not just release it? Pow, Sophia demanded. Oh, why wait? Because I need live witnesses. I need you. I need Daniel. I need Antonio. Without testimony, the defense tears apart the evidence as fabricated. With testimony, we build a narrative. We tell a story. Juries love stories. Juries also love to stay alive, Nick said. How do we testify if Strand's people are hunting us? We don't. Not yet. Kimball closed the safe. First, we survive the next 72 hours. Strand's teams are good, but they're not unlimited. She's burning resources fast with this assault. In 3 days, either we're dead or she runs out of operators willing to risk federal murder charges. We just have to last. How? By going somewhere even the syndicate can't reach. Kimball pulled out tickets. Military transport, leaving from McGuire Air Force Base in 2 hours. Destination classified. Federal Witness Protection Facility that doesn't officially exist. You'll be safe there until we're ready to move. Nick looked at the tickets, looked at Sophia, looked at the files that his mother had died protecting. What about Daniel? He's in a hospital. Vulnerable. Already extracted. My people moved him an hour ago. He's en route to the same facility. And my father stays at Mount Sinai under guard until he's stable enough to move. Then he joins you. You've thought of everything. Your mother taught me to. Kimball's eyes were sad. She was meticulous, paranoid even, but it kept her alive for 3 years while she built this case. Until Michael Torino betrayed her. Until the syndicate decided she knew too much. Sophia spoke up. This facility, the one that doesn't exist, what happens there? You train, you prepare, you learn how to testify, how to survive cross-examination, how to tell your story in a way that makes juries weep and judges throw the book at defendants. Kimball's smile was grim. And then when you're ready, we bring down the syndicate, all 12 members. We burn their empire to ash, and we make sure they never hurt anyone again. You make it sound easy. It's not. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but it's necessary because if we don't stop them, they'll keep killing, keep trafficking, keep destroying lives. Your mother knew that. That's why she fought, why she died fighting. And now it's your turn to finish her war. Nick took the tickets. Then let's finish it. They left the courthouse through a tunnel system that connected to underground parking. The marshals moved them into an armored SUV. 3 more vehicles formed a convoy. Serious protection for serious threats. The drive to McGuire took 90 minutes of tense silence. Nick kept expecting an ambush. A rocket launcher. A drone strike. Something. But they made it to the base without incident. The military transport was a C-130, loud, uncomfortable, perfect for disappearing. They boarded. The engines roared, and as they lifted off, Nick watched New York shrink below them. The city where he'd been born, where his mother had died, where his family's empire had risen and fallen and might rise again, if they survived. Sophia sat beside him, her hand finding his in the darkness of the cargo hold. "You okay?" she asked. "No, you do. Not even a little bit." She squeezed his hand. "But we're alive, that's something. For now." The flight took 6 hours. They landed at a base Nick didn't recognize. Somewhere cold, somewhere remote. Armed guards met them on the tarmac and escorted them to a facility that looked like a prison, and a fortress had a baby. Inside, they found Daniel. He was in a wheelchair, his missing leg wrapped in bandages, but his eyes were bright. "Welcome to hell," he said cheerfully. "Or witness protection. Same thing, really." "You're okay." Sophia hugged him carefully, mindful of his injuries. "I'm alive, which is more than I expected 6 hours ago." Daniel looked at Nick. "Your father, Elev, is stable. He'll be here when he can travel." "Good, because we need him. Need all of us." Daniel gestured to the facility around them. "This place is where they keep witnesses to the worst crimes imaginable. Cartel informants, Mafia turncoats, people who testify against terrorists. The security is insane, but so is the training." "Training for what?" Sophia asked. "For staying alive long enough to testify, for handling cross-examination, for dealing with the psychological warfare that defense lawyers use to break witnesses." Daniel's smile faded. "It's brutal, but it works, and we need it, because the syndicate's lawyers are going to tear us apart if we're not prepared." A woman entered the room, mid-50s, military bearing, hard eyes. "I'm Colonel Sarah Reeves. I run this facility. You're here because Judge Kimball says you're critical witnesses to the biggest corruption case in American history. That means you get the full treatment, training, protection, preparation. But it also means rules, strict rules. Break them, and I put you on a plane back to New York. Understand?" They nodded. "Good. You haven't got 72 hours to rest, recover, process what's happened. Then training starts. 6 weeks of intensive preparation. By the time we're done, you'll be able to handle anything a courtroom throws at you. Questions?" Nick raised his hand. "What about the syndicate? What about Strand's teams? Can they reach us here?" Reeves smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "They can try, but this facility has survived 3 cartel assault attempts, 2 terrorist infiltrations, and 1 idiot who tried to sneak in with a drone. All failed. All died. If Strand wants to come after you here, she's welcome to try. I could use the target practice." "That's comforting." "It should be. Now get some rest. You look like hell, all of you." They were shown to rooms. Small, Spartan, but clean, safe. Nick collapsed onto the bed and immediately passed out, his body finally giving in to exhaustion. He woke to his phone ringing. Impossible. They'd taken his phone at intake, but there it was buzzing on the nightstand. He answered. "Nick," Antonio's voice, weak but alive. "Listen carefully. I don't have much time. They're coming for me. Not Strand's people. Someone else. Someone inside the hospital. I can see them through the door. 3 men, dressed as doctors but moving wrong. I'm going to have to fight. Might not make it. Dad, no. If I don't make it, you need to know something. Your mother. The night she died, she told me something, and something she made me swear never to tell you unless she was gone and you were in danger." "What?" "She knew about the syndicate, about all of it, and she knew something else, something that changes everything." "What? You're not my biological son." The words hit like a gunshot. "What?" "Maria was pregnant when we met, 3 months. She wouldn't tell me who the father was, just said he was dangerous, said he'd kill her if he knew about you. So I married her, adopted you, raised you as mine, and I never regretted it. Not once. You're my son in every way that matters." "Who was he?" "Who's my real father?" "That's what your mother wouldn't say. But Nick, whoever he is, he's part of this, part of the syndicate. Maria was investigating them even before we met, and somehow, some way, she got pregnant by one of them. That's why they wanted her dead, not just because of what she knew, but because of what you represent." "I don't understand." "Neither do I, but there's a file in Maria's things, a DNA test. She took a sample from you when you were 5, Had it analyzed. The results are in that file. It'll tell you who your father really is. Gunfire erupted on Antonio's end. Dad, I love you, Nicky. Remember that? You're my son, my heir, my... The line went dead. Nick screamed, threw the phone. Colonel Reeves burst in with guards. What happened? My father, the hospital. They're attacking him. We have to... I'm already on it. Reeves had her phone out. Mount Sinai, this is Colonel Reeves' Federal Authorization Code Tango 97. I need immediate security to room 347. Patient Antonio Hartley. Hostile situation. Move now. She listened. Her face went pale. When how many casualties? She hung up slowly. I'm sorry, the attack happened 3 minutes ago. 4 men. They killed 2 guards. Got into your father's room. There was gunfire. And then... She couldn't meet Nick's eyes. Then the room went silent. By the time hospital security arrived, the attackers were gone. And your father, is he dead? He's missing. They took him. Left blood but no body. Nick, I'm so sorry. They took your father. Nick felt something break inside him. First his mother, now his father. And the impossible revelation that Antonio wasn't even his biological father. Who was he? Who was Nicholas Hartley, really? Sophia appeared in the doorway. She'd heard everything. We'll get him back, she said fiercely. We'll find Antonio. We'll save him, I swear it. But Nick wasn't listening. He was thinking about his mother, about secrets, about DNA tests hidden in files, about the possibility that he was the son of a monster, and about what that meant for everything he thought he knew about himself. Nick tore through the boxes of his mother's belongings like a man possessed. Colonel Reeves had them shipped from Giovanni's ruins within 2 hours. Everything Maria had owned. Everything she'd hidden. It has to be here. Nick threw aside photo albums, documents, her jewelry, the DNA test, the file. It has to. His hand closed on a small lockbox. No key. He smashed it against the floor until it cracked open. Inside a single manila folder marked NH, private. Nick's hand shook as he opened it. Sophia stood behind him, Daniel in his wheelchair beside her. Colonel Reeves watched from the door. The first page was a laboratory report. Genetic testing. Dated 23 years ago when Nick was 5. Subject Nicholas Hartley. Sample blood draw. Paternal match analysis. No match to Antonio Hartley. 0% probability. Biological father. D. A match to federal database. Subject identified as Nick's vision blurred. The name on the page couldn't be real. No. His voice was barely a whisper. No, this is wrong. This has to be wrong. Sophia took the paper from his trembling hands. Read it. Her face went white. Oh my God. What? Daniel wheeled closer. Who is it? Senator James Cartwright. Sophia's voice was hollow. Nick's biological father is Senator James Cartwright. The name detonated in Nick's brain like a bomb. Senator James Cartwright, chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, presidential candidate, one of the most powerful men in America, and according to Judge Kimball's files, one of the 12 members of the syndicate. My father is a monster. Nick's legs gave out. He sat hard on the floor. My mother was investigating the syndicate, and somehow she got pregnant by one of their leaders. That's why they killed her. Not just because she knew too much, because I'm living evidence that Cartwright has secrets, that he's not the family man he pretends to be. There's more. Sophia was reading the rest of the file. Letters, from your mother to herself, like a diary she never thought you'd see. She handed Nick the pages, his mother's handwriting. Small, precise, heartbroken. I met James when I was 19. I was waitressing at a political fundraiser. He was 32, married, ambitious. He saw me and he wanted me, and men like James Cartwright get what they want. I thought it was love. I was young, stupid. By the time I understood what he really was, what he was part of, I was pregnant. I told him. He offered me money for an abortion. I refused. He threatened me, said if I kept the baby, he'd destroy me, make me disappear. I ran, changed my name, found Antonio, and Antonio, beautiful Antonio, he married me, knowing I was carrying another man's child. Raised Nicky as his own, never asked questions, never demanded answers. He saved us both. But James never forgot, never forgave. And now that Nicky's grown now, that he looks so much like his biological father, that anyone with eyes could see the resemblance, James is terrified. Terrified that someone will notice, will connect the dots, will realize that this man running for president has an illegitimate son he tried to force into abortion. So James wants me dead, wants Nicky dead, wants every trace of his mistake erased. But I won't let that happen. I've gathered evidence, proof of what James is, what he's done. And if he kills me, it all goes public. Every crime, every lie, everything. Nick's hands crumpled the pages. She was protecting me. From him. From Cartwright. That's why she investigated the syndicate so deeply. Not just justice. She was building insurance. Making sure if Cartwright came after me, he'd destroy himself in the process. And it worked. Daniel's voice was urgent. She died, but you lived. The evidence is still here. Still viable. Cartwright can't touch you without exposing himself. Except he can. Colonel Reeves stepped forward. Cartwright's not coming for you directly. That's why he has Victoria Strand. That's why he has the syndicate. They'll kill you and make it look like West's people got revenge, or a random robbery, or suicide. Cartwright stays clean. You stay dead. Not if we expose him first. Sophia's voice was fierce. We have DNA proof. We have Maria's testimony. We have nothing that would hold up in court against a sitting senator. Reeves was blunt. The DNA test inadmissible without chain of custody. Your mother's letter's hearsay. She's dead. Can't testify. Can't verify. A good lawyer tears this apart in minutes. So what do? Nick demanded. We get Antonio back, and we make Cartwright confess on camera. Reeves pulled up a laptop. Your father's tracking chip is still active. The one in his watch. I can see him. He's in Virginia. Private estate registered to a shell company. Want to guess who owns it? Cartwright. Bingo, they're holding him there, probably trying to make him talk. Find out what you know, what evidence you have, where you're hiding. Antonio won't talk. Nick stood rage replacing shock. He'd die first, which is exactly what they're counting on. They torture him. He dies. They dump the body. You lose the only father you've ever known, and Cartwright gets away clean. Unless we go get him. That's suicide. Reeves was firm. That estate is a fortress. Private security, cameras everywhere. You'd never make it to the front door. Then I won't use the front door. Nick looked at Daniel. You infiltrated West's organization for 5 years. Went deep undercover. You know how to breach secure facilities. I also lost a leg doing it, but Daniel's eyes were calculating. Still, it's possible if we had the right equipment, the right team, and a lot of luck. I can provide equipment and team. Reeves surprised them all. Off the books, unsanctioned. If this goes wrong, I'll be court-martialed. But your mother saved my sister's life 15 years ago. She was being stalked by an ex. Maria made one phone call, and that man disappeared. Never bothered my sister again. I owe Maria Hartley, and I pay my debts. What's the plan? Sophia asked. Reeves pulled up schematics. Cartwright's estate, 1,200 acres, main house, guest house, security barracks. We go in quiet. 3-person team. Nick, because Antonio will only trust you. Daniel, because he knows security systems. And me, because someone needs to keep you idiots alive. I'm coming too. Sophia's voice left no room for argument. You're not trained. I'm coming. Antonio protected me. Gave me a job. A future. I'm not abandoning him. Sophia met Reeves's eyes. You try to stop me, I'll steal a car and go myself. At least if I'm with you, I might survive. Reeves smiled grimly. Fine. 4-person team. We leave in an hour. Gear up. The next hour was controlled chaos. Tactical gear, weapons, communications equipment. Nick had fired guns before Antonio had taught him, but never like this. Never with the intent to kill. You ready for this? Daniel asked, loading his pistol one-handed with practiced ease. No, but I'm going anyway. Good answer. They flew to Virginia in an unmarked helicopter, landed 2 miles from Cartwright's estate in a field that Reeves swore wasn't monitored. From here we walk. No comms except short range, no lights, no noise. We're ghosts. They moved through the darkness. Daniel in his wheelchair, specially modified, apparently bulletproof and near silent. Nick felt like his heart was trying to break through his ribs. Every shadow was a threat, every sound a potential ambush. But they made it to the estate perimeter without incident. Security's concentrated on the main house, Daniel whispered, checking a tablet. But thermal imaging shows one heat signature in the guest house basement. That's got to be Antonio. How many guards? Reeves asked. 4 outside, unknown inside. But the guest house shares a drainage system with the main property. Old plans show a maintenance access tunnel. We go in underground, we bypass most security. They found the tunnel entrance hidden behind landscaping. Reeves cut the lock. They descended into darkness that smelled of mold and standing water. The tunnel was narrow, low ceiling. Nick's claustrophobia screamed, but he pushed through. They emerged in a sub-basement beneath the guest house. Above them, footsteps. Voices. Don't care what the senator wants. The old man won't talk. We've tried everything. Strand says we have until morning. Then we kill him and dump the body in the river. Make it look like West's people got revenge. Nick's blood boiled. He looked at Reeves. She nodded. They moved. The assault was fast, brutal. Reeves took the first guard with a silenced shot that dropped him before he could shout. Daniel rolled into the second guard's legs, throwing him off balance, and Sophia stabbed him with a knife that appeared from nowhere. Nick froze. He'd never seen someone die up close. The guard's eyes went wide. Blood bubbled from his mouth. He clawed at Sophia's hands and then went still. Move, Reeves hissed. They found the basement door. Locked. Daniel worked on it with picks while Nick watched the stairs, gun trembling in his hands. The lock clicked. They entered. Antonio hung from chains in the center of the room. His face was destroyed, both eyes swollen shut, ribs clearly broken, blood everywhere. But when Nick whispered, "Dad," Antonio's head lifted. "Nicky," his voice was sandpaper, "you stupid, beautiful idiot. I told you to stay safe. You also told me you weren't my biological father. We need to work on your timing." Nick was already working on the chains. "Hold on, we're getting you out." "Can't, ribs are broken, maybe lungs punctured. I move, I die. Then we carry you." "No time." Antonio coughed blood. "They're coming. 3 more guards upstairs. Heard the commotion. You need to go. I'm not leaving you. You have to." Antonio grabbed Nick's shirt with broken hands. "Listen, Cartwright knows about the DNA. Knows you're his son. He sent me a message. Said if you testify against the syndicate, he'll expose you. Tell the world you're his illegitimate child. Destroy your reputation, your life, everything. I don't care about my reputation, but you should care about your safety. If the world knows you're Cartwright's son, you become a target. Every enemy he has comes after you. Every political rival, every criminal he's prosecuted. You'll never be safe." Footsteps pounded down the stairs. Reeves positioned herself at the door. "We've got company. 30 seconds. Go." Antonio shoved Nick weakly. "Take the evidence, bring down the syndicate. Finish what your mother started. Not without you." Nick's voice cracked. "You're my father, the only father I've ever known. I'm not losing you too." "Then you better move fast." Antonio smiled through broken teeth. "Because I'm not dying today. Too stubborn." Reeves opened fire. The guards at the door dropped, but more were coming. Alarms blared. Daniel worked frantically on Antonio's chains. They fell away. Sophia and Nick caught Antonio before he collapsed. "Can you walk?" Reeves demanded. "Can I breathe? Barely, but I'll try." Antonio leaned on Nick. "Get me out of here and I'll buy you all a drink." They moved, slowly. Antonio's weight was dead weight. Every step was agony. But they made it back to the tunnel. Behind them, gunfire, shouts. The estate security had finally realized there was a breach. "They're sealing the exits." Daniel checked his tablet. "We're trapped." "No, we're not." Reeves pulled out a phone. "I called in a favor. Cavalry's arriving in 60 seconds. "What cavalry?" The answer came in the form of an explosion that rocked the entire estate. The main house's east wing erupted in flames. "What the hell?" Nick stared. "Judge Kimball's people. Federal marshals with warrants for Senator Cartwright's arrest. The explosion's a diversion. Gives us cover to escape." They emerged from the tunnel into chaos. FBI vehicles everywhere. Marshals in tactical gear storming the property. And in the center of it all, in handcuffs, Senator James Cartwright. He saw Nick, Their eyes met across the lawn, and Nick saw himself. The same face shape, the same eyes, the same jawline. It was like looking in a mirror aged 30 years. Cartwright's face went ashen. He knew. In that moment, everyone who saw them standing 20 feet apart knew. "Get him out of here," Reeves hissed, "before the cameras arrive." But it was too late. News helicopters circled overhead, camera flashes from the perimeter. This was going to be everywhere by morning. Nick Hartley and Senator James Cartwright, father and son, impossible to deny now. They loaded Antonio into an ambulance. Critical condition but alive. Nick rode with him, holding his hand. "I'm sorry," Antonio whispered. "Sorry you had to find out this way. Sorry I didn't tell you sooner. You saved my life, raised me, loved me." Nick's tears fell. "You're my father. Biology doesn't change that. You're a good son, Nicky. Better than I deserve. You deserve everything." At the hospital, surgeons worked on Antonio for 6 hours. Collapsed lung, shattered ribs, internal bleeding. But he survived, stubborn like he'd promised. While Nick waited, Judge Kimball arrived with news. Cartwright's in federal custody, his estate's being torn apart. "We found everything: financial records, communications with the syndicate, video evidence of him ordering hits. He's finished." "And the DNA?" Nick asked. "The fact that I'm his son is public knowledge as of 20 minutes ago. Every news outlet in America is running the story. Senator's illegitimate son helps bring down criminal empire. You're famous, Nick, like it or not." "I don't want to be famous. I want to be left alone." "Too late for that. But there's good news. Public sympathy is on your side. Your mother's story, how Cartwright threatened her, forced her to run, tried to have both of you killed. It's playing as heroic tragedy. You're not the scandal. Cartwright is." "What about the syndicate, the other 11 members?" "Being arrested as we speak, coordinated raids across 6 states. Between Maria's evidence, Daniel's testimony, and what we seized from Cartwright's estate, we have enough to prosecute all of them." "It's over, Nick. Your mother's fight is over, and she won." Nick closed his eyes, felt the weight of 6 weeks, 6 years of fear and rage and grief finally lifting. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you testify. You, Antonio, Sophia, Daniel. You tell your stories. You make sure these people never see daylight again. And then," Kimball paused, "then you live, really live, for the first time in your life without fear, without looking over your shoulder. You're free, Nick. Finally free." The trials took 9 months, 9 months of testimony, of reliving trauma, of facing down defense lawyers who tried to paint Maria as a criminal, Antonio as a mobster, Nick as a liar. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty, on all counts. All 12 syndicate members, including Senator James Cartwright. Sentencing was swift, life without parole, every single one of them. Victoria Strand, the woman who'd orchestrated the attacks, died in a shootout with FBI agents 3 weeks before trial. Went down fighting like she'd lived. Marco West pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. Got life in a super max facility where he'd never see another human being except through glass. And Nick Hartley, the heir who wouldn't eat, who'd starved himself from paranoia and grief, stood in the courthouse and watched justice delivered. Antonio stood beside him, walking with a cane now but alive. Sophia held Nick's hand. Daniel sat in his wheelchair, grinning like this was the best day of his life. Outside, the courthouse reporters swarmed. Questions shouted from every direction. "Nick, how does it feel to bring down your biological father? Will you claim the Cartwright fortune? Are you rebuilding Giovanni's?" Nick ignored them all, walked to the waiting car with Sophia. "Where to?" she asked. "Home, whatever that means now." They'd rebuilt Giovanni's from the ashes. 3 months of construction. Antonio oversaw every detail from his hospital bed. It reopened on what would have been Maria's birthday. The first meal served was chicken soup. Sophia made it. Simple recipe, her grandmother's, the same soup that had saved Nick's life 6 months ago. Nick ate it in the private dining room with Antonio, Sophia, and Daniel. 4 people who'd survived hell, who'd brought down an empire, who'd finished a dead woman's fight. To Maria, Antonio raised his glass. "The strongest person I ever knew." "To Maria," they echoed. Nick looked around the table. at the father who'd chosen him, at the woman who'd refused to stay silent, at the brother who'd sacrificed everything for truth. This was his family, not biology, not blood, but choice, love, survival. What happens now? Daniel asked. The trials are over. The syndicate is destroyed. What do we do with the rest of our lives? Nick looked at Sophia. She smiled. We live, Nick said simply. We build something good. We honor Mom's memory by being better than the people who killed her. We choose hope over fear, trust over paranoia, love over revenge. That's very poetic, Daniel said. But seriously, what's the plan? Nick laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. The plan is we figure it out as we go, together. I can live with that. They ate, they talked, they remembered. And for the first time since Maria's death, the weight of grief felt like something Nick could carry instead of something that would crush him. Sophia walked him out later that night. The city lights sparkled. The restaurant behind them glowed warm and alive. You okay? She asked. Yeah, I think I actually am. Nick turned to her. I never thanked you for everything, for the soup, for staying, for fighting beside me. You saved my life. You saved mine first. We're even. I don't think we'll ever be even. Nick took her hand, but maybe we could try. Maybe we could build something. Together, if you wanted. Sophia's smile was everything. I want. They stood together in the New York night. Two survivors, two fighters, two people who'd looked death in the face and chosen to live anyway. Giovanni's lights blazed behind them. Maria's legacy, Antonio's dream, their future. And Nick Hartley, who'd once refused to eat from fear, who'd starved himself from paranoia, who'd lost everything and found it all again, he finally understood what his mother had been trying to teach him all along. Trust wasn't weakness, love wasn't vulnerability, and family wasn't defined by blood. Family was the people who stood beside you when hell rained down. Family was the people who refused to let you face darkness alone. Family was Sophia's hand in his, Antonio's strength, Daniel's sacrifice, Maria's love that reached beyond the grave. The fight was over, but the living had just begun.